By the 9 and 4, welcome back to the library. I am the recorder, and in this entry of Intro to the Realms, we continue our look at some of the names both known and unknown to the wider realms, and their place and effect on those very realms. This time, we look at a pair of heroes of the realms who are rarely at center stage, yet their impact on the flow of events is clear and unarguable. Perceptive patrons, regular visitors, and new guests of the library, this will be but a brief look at each of these legendary individuals. Further entries going into depth on any or all of them will be forthcoming as time and interest dictate. So, as always, be sure to make your voice heard and help shape the course of our explorations of the realms of Jam'mar. When one thinks of the Dragon of Time, one would think of an ageless great worm, wise and ponderous. And Tradiz is all these things, being the direct reincarnation of the original Dragon of Temporsis, Kronos of the Dragon First. Despite in all meaningful ways being the same creature in terms of power and ability as Kronos, Tradiz is best known as a prankster and a light-hearted soul, preferring to take the form of a young teen or a child when interacting with others. However, even so presented, it should be clear that it is an active point of debate amongst scholars and academics on if Tradiz, or Damascus Skychild, is the more potent of temporal manipulators. And no matter what face he might be wearing, Tradiz is most likely the most dangerous and powerful being that many in the realms will ever meet. Fortunately for the realms, Tradiz is a force for good. Using his understanding of time and its flows, not only to commit great acts of humor and trickery, but to ensure things are as they need to be, and when they need to be. Often, this is simply by imparting information to the proper people at the right time. Other times, he will provide aid in transportation, being one of the few creatures able to hop from one planet or system to another with relative ease. His childlike demeanor is often undercut by the import of events or of the information he is relaying. But it is important to understand that Tradiz is not Kronos, who existed for untold amounts of time in the time before time, as well as the ages that followed before his apparent death. Tradiz was only found and awoken during the later part of the Age of Valor. Compared to his original form, Tradiz is still but a young worm, at even several thousand years old. Often seen with the Time Warden Fierstein Skychild, the sister to Verisar Skychild, and the sister of the Criterion Divine family. Tradiz and hers exploits are many, and many more instances of pranks and other actions of a less than serious nature involving the divines and mortals of great power and import. It seems that this light-hearted and frivolous manner suits Tradiz well, and he is rarely seen without a glint in his eye or a smile on his face. His wisdom and abilities are always welcomed, but rarely sought out or demanded, as none that could do so successfully are willing to risk the ire of Tradiz, save for the gravest of situations. going through the various records and folk tales from across the realms, finding examples of strangers arriving in an area in some need or trouble, and then training or teaching the locals to rise to and overcome this challenge, only to fade away after, are not rare to be found in the least. However, if one looks long enough and hard enough, one can find a faint string and series of legends and tales, stretching as far back as the last years of the Wars of Feather and Scale, of a stranger doing just that, teaching and training the gifted to become heroes. What connects these tales is the fact that the stranger, when described, is always depicted as one of the Dragois, and either lacking a left arm or possessing some form of metal replacement for it. In the modern day, this man is known as Lefty. Lefty, and the long string of tales that seem to include him stretching so far back, are a matter of some conjecture and debate. It is known he is a celestially touched, a being in deep harmony with one of the celestial powers, Temporsis, the power of time in this case. This explains how he has both lived so long and worn so many faces, as Corians, the Temporsis touched, are able to cheat death by allowing their bodies to be rebuilt in a differing form while preserving the mind and spirit. This, coupled with the fact that the timeless city, where the Corians call home, is said to be a path to all points in space and time. Both of these facts make it clear that in all likelihood, Lefty has been doing his trainer and teacher thing for far longer than the years would indicate, while utterly assuring that a clear accounting of his life is most likely known only to himself and the librarian. Events in more recent ages brought him from the edges of events to an active agent within them, being chosen as one of the very few agents of destiny. He would find himself teaching those that would end up becoming to save the realms, ascend to godhood, and otherwise shape the course of the realms in their future. Thus, his allies are many, and his foes few, as Lefty has made a habit of being the reasonable one in most matters, and where that fails, his skill with handheld firepower of all kinds is perhaps second only to his teaching abilities. His present form is that of a supremist Dragois phenotype, that long-lost form of Dragois thought to have been locked away due to its potential power. While he is generally without armor, he is always carrying an armory of pistols from such personages as Verisar Skychild, Varia of Ego Core, Jacob of the Teltechians, and many more creators, inventors, and geniuses slung in holsters around his body. For those that seek to better the realms, or just make it to the next day, Lefty is a saint of giving and kindness. For those that would do harms to others without cause, or would victimize the helpless, Lefty is a nightmare. Having most of the gods and heroes of the realms as friends and allies to call upon to correct things, should he not wish to do so personally. Tradiz and Lefty, both beings of good heart and noble intent, and almost always found among the ages of major events, where Tradiz will deliver vague hints and glimpses of the future to guide heroes. Lefty is the one who prepares the mind and wits of those very heroes to be able to not understand, but to see the deeper reasons and meanings in these hints and clues. The two of them are rarely seen working together directly, but the fact that they are both beings touched by and suffused with the power of Temporsis would probably negate much of the need of direct collaboration. Both are indisputably heroes of the realms in their own rights, and are accorded the respect properly due by nearly all. And both are relatively equally humble about their part in things, and tend not to seek praise or recognition for their deeds. With that, I will draw this quick look at a pair of well-regarded heroes of the ages, and even the gods, to a close. I hope my perceptive patrons, regular visitors, and of course, new guests of the library have enjoyed this look. Let me know in the comments, or by any of the other methods of communication out there. And tell me, where shall we next head in our exploration of the realms? Until you next return to the library for your next entry of Intro to the Realms, I have been, as always, the Recorder. And by the 9 and 4, be well, take care of yourselves and each other. If you'd like to contribute to the further exploration and explanation of the realms, please consider leaving a comment, a like, and sharing the video around. I read all the comments and make efforts to reply to each. Thank you for helping to grow the channel, and know I look forward to each and every one of your comments. Other methods of support can be found in the channel's description. Thank you for watching.